There's an interesting myth or legend that comes from the Dingle peninsula in Kerry, in the southwest of Ireland, where apparently a queen or princess from far away is buried somewhere in the hills of Kerry, and there's an actual site associated with this story. So I want to look into where it comes from, what it might mean, and if there's any truth to it. So firstly, for anyone who's not familiar, the Dingle Peninsula is part of County Kerry in the southwest coast of Ireland. It juts 30 miles into the Atlantic Ocean, and along its spine is a mountain range called the Sleevemish mountain range. I'm going to look at that name later on because it's very significant to our story. And in this area as well is the main town, Dingle Town, which today is a tourist destination for dolphin watching. But it used to welcome Spanish galleons and boats, and it was a harbour town. It's called Ondangan, Oscailga, or in Irish. And we're going to look at this general area and a lot of the myths associated with it, the background of the people, and just get a general sense of this part of the country. If we wanted to get a backdrop to an ancient Irish mythological story, this would be the perfect place. You know, if we go back long before written history, these hills are very sacred ground to Bronze Age people and everything since. This area is a very high concentration of cairns, burial mounds, fairy forts, ogham stones, megalithic constructions, even Christian monasteries. And all you have to do is, if you look up dukas.ie, you know, you can scroll back, you can put in the time period, the area, and just read through some of the stories that come from this area. There's so much local lore, you know. People say that almost under every mound, every raised platform in the land, you know, there's a sleeping king, a druid, or a warrior of some description. And that's kind of where the story is going to take us today. You can look up countless archaeological digs in this area, but those are videos for different times. I want to focus on a particular story today. If you go back far enough into history of any area, you'll find this blurry moment where myth kind of intersects with fact. And in Irish history we have this book, or this text I should say, called the Lawer Gawala Éireann, the Book of Invasions it's called in English. And this is a retelling of the peopling of Ireland, you know, successive invasions is how it's written about, you know, from different people that come from different parts of the world. The Nemid, the Fir Bulg, these gods and demigods, and it climaxes with the Milesians, who are the last people, apparently, to arrive in the island of Ireland. And they have a decisive victory over the people here before them, the Tuatha Dé Danann. So they deserve another video entirely. But we're going to look at the Milesians here. These Milesian people apparently came from Iberia, which is modern-day Spain, and it's interesting because modern DNA results show that Ireland's strongest genetic trace across the world is the Basque region of northern Spain. But these people bring new farming skills, new technology and Bronze Age weapons with them. In Scottish mythology they have an identical story. However, if you follow the Irish telling, among the Milesians came Queen Scotia, a fierce Egyptian-born wife of Míl Espáine. The etymology here is interesting because the word Míl Espáine is very reminiscent in Irish to how you would describe 1,000 Spanish people or soldiers. But she dies in battle against the Tuatha Dé Danann, falling from her horse, and allegedly is buried among the Sleevemish mountains. Still today you can hike up. There is a place called Scota's Glen or Gleann os Gaeilge, and it is basically a small stone construction, like a few slabs in the ground beside a river, and you can go here, and people believe that this is where she is buried. Now, archaeologists don't believe this to be true. It is likely not true. But this isn't the only such myth that we have from the area. I want to look now at a different story that gives the mountain range its name, the Valley of the Mad. So from where does the valley get its name? The name Mish is handed down through an ancient story that survives today in the local area. Local lore says these mountains were once home to a woman driven mad by grief. The surrounding valley is still known to some as the Valley of the Mad, and we'll have a look at why. Once again, in this part of the country, myth and memory blur. Oral tradition has long preserved the stories of ancient battle, sacred sites and even megalithic settlement. These stories, passed down for generations, act as a kind of living map, preserving the region's prehistoric past. Oftentimes we see how stories might contain valuable information that might benefit people in a particular area. This will be one such story, as we'll see at the end of the video. According to the local legend, the Milesians began their invasion with an assault on the Dingle peninsula, landing on a beach just south of the Sleafmish Mountains. Here, they went to war with the Tuatha Dé Danann, the then indigenous people of Ireland. They fought a brutal battle on the beach, and among them was a young princess named Mish. Here, the Milesians suffered a great defeat in battle, and Mish witnesses her father be beheaded in front of her. Overcome by the grief and trauma of what she had witnessed, Mish fled into the mountains. Over time, her body takes on the form of a crow. This is the birth of the Morrigan in Irish mythology. Soon, she is known to inhabit the valley, feeding off people's livestock, attacking anyone that dares to enter. Other stories from this region follow a similar pattern, in which people driven to madness flee into the woods, never to return. But the Morrigan stays there, and it is not until she is fed water from the well that she returns to normal. The well in question is Tuath Geilt, which is located just at the base of the valley. This well can still be found. Centuries later, scientists from a Dublin university tested the well's water and found high levels of lithium. Lithium is a natural element used in modern-day pharmaceuticals, particularly for mental health treatment. People in the valley have been drinking from this exact well for thousands of years, hoping it will improve their mental state. The existence of this well proves to us that mythology has an actual function in society, and that we have something to learn from these stories even thousands of years later.